Hello, and welcome to another edition of TSI's product training videos. I'm Greg Olson. I'm TSI's Senior Industrial Hygienist and a Global Product Manager for the Health and Safety Instrument line. Today we're going to be going over how to use a DustTrak desktop instrument, either a DustTrak DRX or a DustTrak II with an Auto Zero module. All right. The Auto Zero module was designed and developed specifically for doing long-term sampling applications. Two of those that come to mind readily are indoor air quality monitoring. You may be monitoring for 24 hours at a time, or for fugitive emissions monitoring, very common outdoor environmental monitoring application that the DustTrak is widely utilized for. Certainly in the environmental application for fugitive emissions monitoring, the DustTrak would be put into an environmental enclosure. And for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to utilize an enclosure here, but I'm simply going to show you how to attach and set up the Auto Zero module for a sample run. Now, a couple of things. Why would we want to go and use an Auto Zero module for long-term sampling applications? There's really a variety of reasons. Number one, it's that long sampling time that's going to be taking place. During that sampling time, the electronics in any photometer will start to drift a little bit from their zero baseline. All right, so instead of, for short sample runs like industrial hygiene applications, where you may be running for 2 or 3 hours at a time, you can simply use a zero filter and do a zero calibration on the instrument. Well, you don't have that luxury when you're doing a long-term sample for 24 hours, say in an office building overnight during the next day, and the same thing for 24/7 monitoring for fugitive emissions monitoring. You can't go out, stop your instrument, zero it, and then restart it again. You've lost the continuity of your sample. So now you have multiple data sets, so on and so forth. This will allow you to run continuous sampled data sets. It will also allow you to zero during longer periods. Number one, for electronics drift. Okay. Another reason would be temperature and humidity variations that can take place during the day, especially for outdoor environmental monitoring. It's cooler in the morning, humidity may be a little bit lower, temperatures rise during the day, humidity may rise during the day and or fall. And so you really want to be able to zero out those influences during your sampling period. So a couple of things to keep in mind. For a 24-hour sample, people will typically go and set their Auto Zero module frequency at, say, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes 6 hours, okay? So that you're getting it fairly regularly during the day, so that as these temperature conditions that are varying occur, and same thing with humidity, you're actually zeroing out those effects with regularity so that your data will always be optimized for these longer sampling periods. Same thing for, say, an indoor air quality. Temperature may change during the day or the evening, humidities may change, so you also want to make sure that you can utilize an Auto Zero module. Now, there's a couple of things with the Auto Zero module to note. One most important, the most important thing is that your logging interval can be affected. With the use of the Auto Zero module, you can't go any shorter than a 2-minute logging interval. The reason being is, once you start an Auto Zero will take 60 seconds. But if you're doing that at less than a 2-minute log interval, you may affect more than one data point. We're trying to affect the least amount of data points possible. By doing that, 2 minutes will certainly ensure that only one 2-minute data point will be lost, will show up as zero data. Now, if you're concerned that you're doing it every 2 or 3 hours, 4 or 6 hours, that these data points that are zero are going to affect your data, it will not. The impact of a 2-minute log interval being zero, okay, or being reduced, even during a 2-minute log interval, half of that time will be zero concentration, but half of it wouldn't be, okay? And so your data really is going to be reduced, but it's not going to have the effects be shown at all in the overall logged average data. So let's get started with attaching this to the DustTrak. So the AutoZero module consists of a small pump. There is a HEPA filter that's inside here that provides HEPA filtered air. So I'm going to attach the AutoZero module to the top of the DustTrak, or the inlet, and you simply slide that on. And then the small electrical cable gets its power to run the the pump from the DustTrak. And there's a small locking connector, and that plugs into the back of the instrument right like this. There's your connector right here. Now, what we do is we go over to the setup menu, or excuse me, the run mode menu. Click on that. Come up to a logged program. Now you set this through the logging programs, and it's not the manual program, only the program log modes. So I'm going to select one of the program log modes. I am going to scroll down to the very bottom, and basically here, AutoZero module on or off. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to toggle the down arrow key to turn it on and save that. And then it's going to reset the logging interval to 2 minutes. All right, now I can have more than 2 minutes. I just can't have less. So it wants me to set that. So setting that, I'm going to scroll back down, and now what is the frequency or the timing that I want to input into the instrument so that it zeros during sampling. So let's say we want 6 hours. So I am going to toggle this down to 6 hours, right like that. I'm going to hit set. And now I have turned on the AutoZero module function. I have set a AutoZero interval at which the instrument will AutoZero itself during sampling. And now I can go back through the rest of the program log mode and set up my test length. I can reset, if I need to, my log interval, but again, that's no less than 2 minutes. All right, so it could be 2 minutes, it could be as great as 1 hour. All right, and I can set all my other parameters. How many samples do I want to take? Do I want it to be a continuous run? So on and so forth. Once I get all of this programmed, I simply hit main, go back to the main screen, and I'm ready to start sampling. So that, in a nutshell, is how to use the AutoZero module. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at www.tsi.com.